In the autumn of 1347, the village of Ashmir nestled in the damp folds of the West Country like a secret the earth had tucked away. Mist clung to the barley fields each morning, and the air smelled of wood smoke and damp wool. 16-year-old Isla moved through it all with quiet pride, her calloused hands tending the soil, her sharp eyes watching the world, her spirit as unyielding as the oak on the hill. She lived with her father, Tomas, a widower whose back had bent under years of toil and grief. Their harvest had been meager that year. Rut had crept into the grain after weeks of unrelenting rain. Still, they'd saved what they could, hoping to stretch it through winter. But hope meant little when the reeve came. Sir Edmund Croft was no nobleman, just a man granted a little power by the lord of the manor, and he wielded it like a cudgel. Dressed in a threadbare surcoat with the lord's crest, he arrived with the tithe collector on a gray October morning, boots crunching on frost-brittle grass. Villagers watched from doorways as he strode into Tomas's yard, his voice loud and mocking. "Barley enough for a stew, Tomas? Or just for feeding your pride?" he sneered, eyeing the single sack leaning against the cottage wall. Tomas bowed his head. "It's all we've got, sir." The rains spare no man," Croft cut in, snatching the sack. "But God's tithe waits for no excuse." Isla stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her plain wool kirtle dusted with chaff. She said nothing, until Croft turned and added with a smirk, "Perhaps your daughter should pray less and work more. That frock won't fill your bellies." Something snapped inside her. She stepped forward, eyes blazing. "You steal from the hungry and call it God's will?" Her voice rang clear across the yard. "You're no man of the church, you're a rat in a surcoat." Silence fell like a dropped stone. Croft's face purpled. He dropped the sack and advanced on her. "Insolent wench. You'll learn respect where all peasants do, on the whipping post." By noon, the village square was full. Men stood with arms folded, women held children close. Isla was led barefoot across the muddy ground, her hands bound before her. The pillory stood at the center, a cruel wooden frame where disobedient villagers were displayed and punished. The parish clerk read the charge in a flat voice, *, disrespect to the king's officer and slander against holy tithe. That Isla's back was bared to the autumn wind. She refused to weep. Not yet. The birch cane whistled through the air crack, the first stroke seared across her shoulders like fire. She gasped but bit her lip hard, determined not to give Croft the satisfaction. The second stroke landed lower, and a tear escaped, tracing a path through the dirt on her cheek. By the fourth, her knees trembled. By the sixth, her vision blurred. Each lash was counted aloud by the clerk. 1, 2, 3, as if God himself were keeping tally. When it ended, Croft leaned close, his breath sour. "Next time, hold your tongue, or lose it." But as the ropes were untied, old Meg, the village herbwife, her face a map of wrinkles and wisdom, stepped forward without fear. She draped a rough linen shawl over Isla's bleeding back and guided her away, arm firm around her waist. No one spoke. But eyes followed them, some pitying, some angry. All changed that night. As Isla lay face down on a straw pallet, Meg cleaned her wounds with yarrow and honey. "Pride's a heavy cloak, child," she murmured. "But sometimes, it's the only one that keeps you warm." Isla whispered, "Was I wrong?" Meg paused. "Wrong to speak truth?" "No." "Wrong to shout it where power listens with a whip?" Perhaps. She tied the bandage gently. But truth shouted once can become truth whispered by many. And whispers grow. Weeks passed. Winter crept in, and the village huddled tighter. Isla healed slowly, her back a lattice of scars beneath her clothes. She no longer raged, but she watched. She listened. And she remembered, when Croft returned in December for the winter tithe, snow dusting his boots, he found Tomas and Isla waiting together in the yard. The reeve smirked. "Come to beg, girl?" Isla stepped forward, calm as still water. She wore a russet kirtle, mended but clean, her hair braided neatly. "We give what is owed, no more, no less. By God's law and the king's." Croft blinked. There was no defiance in her voice, only quiet certainty. And behind her, other villagers had gathered. Not close. Not threatening. Just present. He hesitated. For the first time, he saw not a foolish girl, but a woman the village might follow. And in that silence, something shifted, not with a shout, but with the soft crunch of snow under boots as he turned and walked away, taking only the lawful portion. Isla watched him go. The birch had scarred her back, but not her spirit. And in the cold heart of winter, a new kind of harvest had begun, slow, quiet, and rooted deep in the soil of resistance. The barley would grow again. And so would she.